Welcome into Lance's Lock, the podcast that gets you ready for Week 7 of college football. Jim Dunaway, Lance Taylor of lanceslock.com. Before we get into 10 or 11 games here to talk about what could happen on this football Saturday, tell everyone how they can be part of the Lance's Lock family.
Yeah, really simple. Jump on board, lanceslock.com. We give you a free play each and every day. It's $90 for the entire month. You'll get college football sides and totals, NFL sides and totals, Major League Baseball playoffs going on, NBA tipping off next week. So make sure you jump on board. Again, it's $3 a day, lanceslock.com.
11 o'clock slate, really good. Let's do 6 games there quickly. Auburn on the road at Arkansas. Auburn's talent doesn't match up to Georgia's talent. How close is Auburn's talent to Arkansas's talent this week?
This is a difficult game because we saw money come in middle of the week that really expanded this number up to the 5 range right now. And, I don't know what we get with Bo Nix on the road. He played extremely well against LSU and won that game for Auburn outright. And Arkansas is coming off a disappointing loss, and they've lost back-to-back games. They got destroyed against Georgia. And then it was a 2-point conversion, which I love the call from Sam Pittman. They got the cover. They didn't get the win, but KJ Jefferson gets better and better each week. I think the better quarterback is Arkansas. I think the better overall team is Arkansas right now in year 2 for Sam Pittman. I lean Arkansas wins the game. I just don't know if they cover the points. I think it's going to be an extremely tight game done away. So I hate to hedge on this. If I had to play it right now, if I can grab 4.5 or 5, I'll take Auburn.
Good time to remind you that we record this on Friday, so when you watch this or play something on Saturday, you may want to check in at lanceslock.com for the adjusted play there. UCF and Cincinnati. This game is important in the national championship playoff race because of where Cincinnati is. UCF, this would be more entertaining if they had their starting quarterback.
Yeah, if Dylan Gabriel was playing, I think this was going to be a really tricky game for Cincinnati. But Cincinnati just kind of strikes me as the Georgia of the Group 5s. And what I mean by that is Luke Fickell has got this team laser focused. We're not going to let off the pedal. We're going to just beat people into submission if we get that opportunity. I do think 22 might be a tick high, though. I did play Cincinnati last Friday night. We laid the points. Easy win there where they scored over 50 points in that game. But now we're talking about Central Florida athletes, and this is a good spot for Gus Malzahn when it seems like he's dead and buried. They come back, they fight. Catching 22 right here. I'm going to take Central Florida plus the 22.
Still in that opening 11 o'clock window, Oklahoma State and Texas. How hard is the job for Sark to get his guys back up after blowing the Red River shootout?
Well, it's the biggest comeback or biggest blown lead, I should say, in Texas history. That game was all but done against Oklahoma, and then the way Oklahoma made the adjustments and kind of shut down that Texas offense in the second half. Xavier Worthy, though, is a guy on the perimeter that Texas was missing early on against Arkansas, and he's a freshman that has emerged, so he's a weapon for Casey Thompson. Obviously, Bijan Robinson can run the football, but they're facing a really good defense in Oklahoma State that is only allowing 18.6 points per game. This number sitting at 4, again, I kind of hate to hedge this. I'm going to play Oklahoma State here. I don't love this spot, though.
Yeah, Lance's Lock podcast here, part of the Double Down Media podcast family. Another early game, 11 o'clock, Michigan State. They're in the playoff conversation now, knocking on the top 10 on the road in Bloomington against the Indiana team that can only be described as disappointing.
Yeah, Indiana, and they can't figure out quarterback because Michael Penix hasn't been healthy. And right now, Tom Allen's playing it close to the vest on which quarterback will play, or maybe he plays 2 quarterbacks. Jack Tuttle, we saw him a little bit last year. The offense wasn't nearly as explosive. Indiana is getting healthier defensively, though. That could be the difference if you can somehow make Michigan State one-dimensional. Kenneth Walker is going to get his touches, but Peyton Thorne is only thrown 2 interceptions, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's been really good, the first-year starter for Mel Tucker. Michigan State has burned me. They've covered every single game this year. I'll be stubborn. I'll lean Indiana in this one, too. Another game that I don't love, but just because I've been continuing to fade Michigan State, I'll do it again in this spot and just hope that Indiana's defense actually shows up.
A couple SEC games at 11 o'clock. Florida, LSU, Texas A&M, Missouri. Everybody will look at that and say, Florida's the play because everyone's opting out against LSU. Texas A&M's the play because of what they did to Alabama. What say you?
Well, we start with Florida, LSU. This number, this is a big number. When you think about LSU catching double digits at home, and we talked about this on the next round, what that crowd's going to look like. I said 70,000. I talked to an LSU fan yesterday. His friend who's got season tickets offered 4 tickets and a parking pass for $130 total. Face value on those tickets was $140.
Wow.
He doesn't think 50,000 people are going to be in the stands for that 11 o'clock game. They're not going to have the support. Their best players are out right now. And Florida's defense, I think this is the key. Max Johnson has had no protection up front, no run, not even a semblance of a run game. Florida's defense since the Alabama game, past 15 quarters, including the second half of the Alabama game, they've given up a total of 38 points. That's 2.5 points per quarter. LSU will have difficulty scoring. I like Florida laying the points here.
Yeah, and Texas A&M, you think they keep rolling, or does Missouri have an answer?
Yeah, I said this earlier on the show. If A&M would have lost going away to Alabama, which obviously they didn't, I think this number would have been more at 5 or 6. So I think it's a little inflated based on that A&M win. I don't trust Calzade. Had a nice game against Alabama. Missouri's defense, though, is awful. I'll take Missouri plus the points, another game I don't love.
All right. 2 games in the middle of the day, 4 games at night. But right now, tell everybody how they can be part of the Lance's Lock family.
Well, Dunaway, you know this about me. We're over year 6 in existence, and I try to be really transparent because, as I say, this thing's a marathon. You know, we have our ups and downs. This past Sunday, we had the worst day in the history percentage-wise that we've ever had in Lance's Lock. What do? The next day we bounce back and went 2-0. We're 4-1 this week. We're going to have some bad days, but we're going to ultimately win for you. We've won every single year. It's $90 for the entire year. Jump on board with us. You can get a free play every day by going to lanceslock.com, sample it, see what you think. You can go month by month too. $90 a month, $3 a day, simple math. Jump on board. You get all the plays.
Kentucky and Georgia is the primo SEC game, number 11 versus number 1. Everyone's starting to say Georgia has separated themselves from everybody else in college football.
Well, I think they have, and you look at Georgia, 11 straight wins against the Cats. They're number 1 for the first time since the preseason 2008 poll. Kirby Smart, I brought up Luke Fickell. He's got a point to prove. He is trying to not let up each and every week, and with this defense, the best right now in college football, one of the best that we've seen in maybe decades. I just think way too much for Kentucky. I go back to 2020, 2019 in these matchups. The Wildcats didn't score a touchdown in either one of those. I think they're going to have difficulty, especially with Georgia, Kirby Smart focusing on Chris Rodriguez not getting his yards, making Will Levis beat them through the air. That's not going to happen. I'm laying a big number here. I laid it against Arkansas. I feel good about Georgia laying the points.
Why am I interested in Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech? I keep going back to that game like it's one I want to watch at 2:30 on ESPN2.
Well, I think people are starting to get interested in Kenny Pickett. You know, you heard about all of these quarterbacks coming into the season, you know, the Spencer Rattlers, the Sam Howells, the Malik Willis, although Malik Willis has played well for Liberty and Hugh Freeze. But Kenny Pickett is a guy that got a 4th to 5th grade NFL draft coming into the season. And right now he leads all Power 5 passers in, I think he's second in touchdowns. He's first in quarterback rating. 72% of his passes he's completed. The guy has been fantastic. He's thrown for at least 380 yards in 3 straight games. So he will be the focal point for Pat Narduzzi's offense, obviously. He's been great. Virginia Tech coming off that difficult loss against Notre Dame. I kind of lean Virginia Tech getting the 5 points here at Blacksburg. I think this is one of those, you look at Pittsburgh, they lost earlier this year to Western Michigan. Virginia Tech's not a bad team at all. I think this is kind of a trap spot for Pittsburgh. They're reading the headlines. I like Vatek in this game.
Under the lights, either TCU and Oklahoma or Arizona State or Utah. Give me a game you want to make a play on.
Let's go Arizona State at Utah.
Okay.
Everybody's talking about Arizona State, who leads the Pac-12 in yards per play, 7.1 yards per play. They lead the Pac-12 in scoring defense. But since Cam Rising took over this offense in the second half of the San Diego State game, a game they were down 14, they tied the game. They lost to undefeated San Diego State by 2 points. Since then, they haven't lost. They've won by double digits, and Rising has been fantastic. They found their quarterback. I watched them, for 60 minutes last week against USC. They dominated USC. This is a great spot for Utah. I love this. I've got a feeling this will be my one, lock that I'll give out for free tomorrow. I feel really good about Utah and Salt Lake City tomorrow night.
2 SEC games under the light everyone's talking about, but one more time, lanceslock.com, real easy to sign up for.
Yeah, go to lanceslock.com. You get a free play every day. Again, it's $90 per month. Great Christmas gift for the gambler out there in your life. $3 per day. You get everything. You get the NFL, you get college football, Major League Baseball playoffs, NBA, 6 years, over 6 years. We've never had a losing year. We're not going to start this year. Jump on board, lanceslock.com.
It seems like the man who comes up with the betting lines, or the woman, whoever is the person behind the curtain in Vegas, would have said, man, Alabama coming back, bouncing back, proving a point. against Mississippi State. Seems like we're in for it. That number is not as big as I thought it was going to be. Is Alabama in trouble a little bit this week?
The weird thing, by the way, it opens 21 and immediately goes to 17. So all of the money came, just coming in on Mississippi State. And I think people look at Alabama like we do, and they're like, this isn't the elite team that we've seen in the past. Mississippi State's a pretty good team. When you start to look at their games, they could easily be 5-0. And I know they had the comeback win against Louisiana Tech, but they've had a couple of difficult losses, including the controversial loss to Memphis. Will Rogers is playing great football right now. Zach Arnett's defense up front is really good. Here's where Alabama wins this game. Mississippi State's allowing 12.1 yards per pass attempt and 8 touchdowns of throws of at least 10 yards. Those are the worst in the SEC. Statistically, they've lost 13 straight against Alabama. I don't know coming into this game if they believe they can beat Alabama. Maybe Mike Leach says, hey, look, you just won in College Station. A&M just beat Alabama there. Therefore, just by that, you guys should have a fighting shot here. I do lean Mississippi State plus points. I think it's too many points. I think most people think Alabama in a typical Alabama situation after an upset loss, they come back, they boat race the next team. I don't see that. I think Alabama's going to struggle a little bit. I don't think Alabama's elite. I think they will win out this year, but I think they struggle a little bit in Starkville. And I think Mississippi State, by the time this game kicks, number's probably 17.5. I think the Bulldogs get under the number.
Ole Miss and Tennessee, everyone will say, man, that total seems to be too high. Play the under. What do you say?
I say play the over.
Play the over?
Yeah, I don't love the side here. I think Ole Miss is the better team. Tennessee is playing better football. The way Hendon Hooker is playing, the way Tennessee is running the football, the way Josh Heupel is calling games, Ole Miss's defense will have their hands full with Tennessee. I think ultimately Ole Miss outscores them. This total sitting at 83.5. By kickoff, it could be 85. Don't worry about it. Both teams will score well into the 40s.
All right. Well into the 40s for both, and that's a huge number. And that's our podcast today, lanceslock.com. Go to the website. Very simple there. They'll show you on the website how to sign up and start winning.